The pressure was intense from the kick-off with Alexander in the horrors. And from that mistake, Kemp was in. For Penrith, the points came easily as Mackay converted 3 penalty opportunities to keep the Panthers in the game. The Knights were enterprising and Tony Kemp kept his critics at bay with try number 2. Horror for the Knights as hard-working second rower Paul Marquette went down in agony and he was carried off with a suspected broken ankle. Hero turned villain Steve Linnane was sent to the sin bin for 10 after a professional foul. Mackay again converted and it was 12-8 in favour of the Knights at half-time. More trouble for the Blue and Reds on the resumption as Tony Kemp joined Linnane in the bin and Penrith had to score. Newcastle's defence stood firm under a penalty count weighted heavily against them, but finally Alexander and Fittler turned on the razzle-dazzle. But the never-say-die attitude of the Knights prevailed with a magnificent try. $18 all, and with 3 minutes remaining, Ash the Flash had a chance to seal both points. Coach Alan McMahon summed up the spirit shown by the Knights.
To come back down 18-12 is a tremendous feather in anybody's cap, and particularly this team's cap.
Hunter volunteers were also hard at work today. This year's slogan at Lake Macquarie was "Get It Done in 91", and locals fanned out along the water's edge at 20 sites around the lake to do just that. The vast area to be covered meant that numbers were thinly spread around the banks, but the small groups were more than effective, and early in the morning the garbage bags began to pile up. And Newcastle volunteers turned out at 6 of the city's worst affected areas, and as usual, Throsby Creek demanded special attention. Piles of old tyres and 2 truckloads of garbage were dragged from the mangroves, testament to the numbers of people who quietly and illegally dumped their rubbish amongst the roots. One of the biggest problems in keeping Throsby Creek clean is that all the rubbish thrown into stormwater drains around the city ends up on the banks of this reserve. But apart from physically clearing rubbish from the area, the clean-up campaign also aims at raising community awareness.
Well, I guess the most important thing is to convince people not to throw things into the creek. And of course, when I say into the creek, we're talking about the whole catchment of the creek, and that goes right up to the Charlestown Ridge line.
After winning the first test on Friday and drawing the second test yesterday, New Zealand held all the trump cards and the defending champions needed a miracle to hang on to the Trans-Tasman Trophy, the symbol of bowl supremacy between the two countries. And the Kiwis made sure of the win with comprehensive victories to Peter Bellis in the singles and a stunning 27 win in the fours in the morning's play. With the trophy already in their keeping, New Zealand continued to play brilliantly, with the pairs going out to a 22-7 lead after 7 ends. But the courage of Ian Shoeback and Trevor Morris got the Aussies back in the hunt, and on the penultimate end had the chance to level at 25 all. But Peter Bellis denied them with sensational bowling. The Kiwis were able to hang on for another win, and in the triples another great battle was waged between the two nations. New Zealand looked in command until Taylor, Johnston and Perella fought back for Australia, but the trio of Scoglan, Darling and skipper Morris Symes steadied to enable the Kiwis to get home and win the third test 4-0.
Attended all those accidents in Port Stephens.
We picked him up and he told us to get around the corner and there's people who were really bad hurt. We went over there and they're floating around.
His blood pressure was very low, and so he needed some fluid replacement, and he went by helicopter as well because he was quite sick.
Oh, a matter of weeks.
Well, we've had 7 deaths in Port Stephens in 14-15 months. Now, that boat could have attended all those accidents. I don't say that could have saved lives, but yesterday is a prime example of a coroner who will have a very difficult job to decide whether, if that boat had been there on time, whether it could have saved someone's life.
While it may look easy, marching is a precise drill, with a simple turn having as many as 6 separate moves. In the lead up to the state competition, the Singleton junior team trained for 6 hours a week. Their reward came earlier this month, when they won the freestyle championships and had the best team uniform at the meet.
It's a really big achievement, Alison, because the girls have spent the last 6 months working hard to achieve their goal. They have won this freestyle competition at every march except for 3, and they've only been placed second, so to take out state titles, it sort of really was the icing on the cake for the girls.
According to their proud coach, the girls have a good chance of taking out the national freestyle title.
In the last few years, the New South Wales freestyle champions have brought home medals from nationals, so hopefully we'll be able to keep up the good record.
Team leader Tony Watson will also compete in the junior solo division, with her Spanish-inspired march that won her 3rd place in the state competition. The Roads for the 90s booklet lists projects currently underway and those on the government's drawing board, but there were few surprises. He trundled out the familiar Swansea Bends and Sydney to Newcastle freeway projects. Planning is underway for a second bridge over the south arm of the Hunter River at Strait, and feasibility studies will be done on town bypasses at Raymond Terrace, Curry and Maitland and Muswellbrook. The proposed West Charlestown bypass also made the lists of future programs, but after years of talk, there's still no word on when the project will actually get off the ground. He made little mention of the problems on the New England Highway, which has claimed several lives this year. He dismissed as human error the accident that claimed the life of a Canberra man when a 1.5-tonne boulder fell from a roadside cutting into the path of his vehicle.
It's once again a human element, an error in the placement, error in the construction. That can happen anywhere.
Pension Day in the Crown and Anchor Hotel in Hunter Street, and the anti-smoking movement is far from everyone's mind, especially Bill Pudney, a retired merchant seaman who's been puffing away strongly for most of his 86 years.
I'll keep on smoking and drinking. That's what I live for.
It is attitudes like that which make things hard for bar staff who elect not to be bitten by the nicotine bug.
I'm a non-smoker actually, so for 18 years I've probably been consuming a packet a day on an average with the people around the bar.
Barry feels any move to ban smoking in bars of pubs and clubs would only be feasible with a total prohibition of tobacco smoking. The Hotel Delaney's Chris Chapman can see problems ahead as well.
You can only do your best. You can try and ventilate your premises as best you can. You can try and limit people's exposure to cigarette smoking by using casual people on a casual basis rather than sort of people who are working for long periods in the course of a week. You can do some of these things, but yeah, I guess it's a possibility, Ray, that down the track in Australia there will be litigation by employees who have worked in bars. I just hope that the insurance side of things and the health side of things can be adequately balanced off together.
Licensed clubs are in the same boat and they are big employers. Western Suburbs Leagues, for instance, has more than 300 employees. Most are subject to passive smoking for all or at least some part of their shift. But the club movement sees it as a legislative problem, putting the ball in the government's court.
It's politicians' job to protect people. They have to make the rules on how fast you can drive on the roads, and if that's a danger, they stop it. If it's a danger to work somewhere, the politicians should put their hands in the air and say, now this is killing people, we're going to stop it, and they should stop smoking from all public areas.
There is no doubt that the liquor industry as a whole has already begun thinking about the problem. Maybe only self-regulation will stop government intervention.
The fire was first reported about 10 o'clock this morning, and it's thought to have started somewhere between Greenpoint Drive and Elim Camp, about 5 kilometres south of Foster. Strong southerly winds pushed the flames towards the village of Greenpoint, but incredibly, no homes were damaged.
The fire was travelling at a fair rate. It sort of just leaped them, more or less, through the top, and they were lucky they were down a bit. And they're still up there at the moment, spotting around all over the place. But they are very lucky, actually.
An area of about 250 hectares between the Lakes Way and Lake Wallace has been destroyed by the fire. Units from Tuncurry, Pacific Palms and the National Parks and Wildlife Service are still on the scene, but it could be many hours yet before the blaze is completely extinguished. Firefighters from the area may also be called to help control a fire currently burning in bushland near Bung Wall, about 40 kilometres to the south.
"20 employees at the Hamilton printing business shared in the New South Wales lottery prize of $1,260,000. They admit that at first they suspected a prank.
A lady rang me up from Sydney, but unfortunately we've got a few friends here, football players who've got very cunning friends who play a lot of tricks. So until you guys rang up and then a couple of other people rang up, I just had no intentions of believing it.
But as the truth dawned and the social club realised they were the winners of $63,000 each, the celebrations began. There were even a few tears. The staff social club has chased the jackpot lottery for more than a decade. But there's a cautionary tale in all the excitement. Loser of the year must be Alan Delaney, who dropped out of the social club just a few days ago.
Oh, well, it's tough luck on me. There's not much I can say about it.
At least he managed to smile as workmates planned how they'd spend their winnings.
I'm going to pay a bit off my mortgage, and I'm going to send some money home to England so my parents come out for a big holiday.
Good on you, mate. Good on you. I haven't decided, but the first thing I'm definitely going to buy is a keg.
Things haven't been easy in the printing trade. Manager Dennis Needer admits the win is a much-needed morale booster.
Yeah, we're going through very hard times at the moment, very competitive industry and very tough game at the moment, so it's a nice little fill-up for everybody.
It's a sentiment the staff appreciated. Before the fun started, there was still a job to do.
After we get the jobs done, let's go and have a drink. How about that?
Magic.
Magic! Look at the smile, Jonah!
Rebuilding St Andrews has been a lengthy and expensive process. For almost a year, drop sheets and dust covered the inside of the church as steel rods were installed in buttresses and horizontal supports added to make it secure. Outside, the building was extensively damaged and the landmark spire was destroyed. For over 12 months, numbered blocks of sandstone lay behind the church, but now that the interior is repaired, work has begun outside. Council requirements meant the structure had to be reinforced with huge steel bars which now form the skeleton of the steeple. They're embedded in concrete at the base and meet at the top where the blocks are being carefully lifted into place. Each will be bolted to the steel framework and will be virtually immovable. The process should be complete in July, and for those watching, it's an exciting time.
Now it's going to be a tower, a spire, that is going to be there forever, and that's great.
Repair costs add up to $1.3 million and will be covered with insurance money, a gift from the Heritage Council and donations. The church, once described by the Lord Mayor John McNaughton as the jewel in Newcastle's crown, has also been granted a $50,000 interest-free loan from the Earthquake Relief Fund.
More than 300 sailors in 150 craft are competing. Crews from New South Wales, Queensland, Victoria and Canberra rigged up at the Belmont 16-foot Sailing Club to catch a fresh southeasterly breeze. They'll sail in 4 divisions in craft ranging from yachts to catamarans and sailboards. Much of the fleet is made up of the tried and true trainer classes, such as Sabos, VJs and Mirror dinghies, that have launched thousands of youngsters into the sport. Parents who've been through the ranks offered last-minute advice to a new generation of sailors. Jamie Wilmot of Sydney sailed a small plywood flying ant in the championships 25 years ago. He's now the skipper of Heaven Can Wait, the 20-metre-long winner of this year's Southern Cross Ocean Racing Series. He saw son Nathan and nephew Jason on their way in a flying 11.
I think the younger ones still put a lot more emphasis on the fun, but as you get older through the school years, it becomes more competitive.
After these warm-up races, the crews will start racing for school points from tomorrow until Saturday.
This is the view of Newcastle that was seen across Australia last night, an image which the city has been trying to clean up for years. For an hour and a half, the thick yellow gas spewed from the stacks, polluting the sky above Stockton and Port Waratah. Today, BHP was doing all it could to reassure the community that the incident was one-off and could not have been foreseen. According to BHP, the air compressor system failed during maintenance, causing the coke ovens to release built-up gas. The company claims a few minor adjustments to the air cooler system will see the incident is never repeated.
The system as it operated before appeared to be safe and sound, and we've certainly not had this experience before with it.
But while BHP has been quick to placate residents' concerns, the State Pollution Control Commission has been slow to react. This morning at 9 o'clock, an SPCC officer inspected the plant for the first time, 24 hours after BHP and concerned residents contacted the local office about the leak. Acting Local Chief Ray Smith today said he did not think the leak was serious enough yesterday to warrant an immediate investigation. At that stage, though, it had not been determined what was in the gas or when it would stop flowing from the stacks. The decision was made on information from BHP alone. For residents of Stockton, it does not come as a surprise. They've come to expect little action from the SPCC.
Yeah, I think everybody's had enough of it.
The Sydney head office of the SPCC has called for a full report on the action taken by local officers. A decision on whether to lay charges against BHP over the leak, which did contain some carcinogenic materials, will be made within the week. Although his office was contacted, Environment Minister Tim Moore would make no comment on the matter. Jodie McKay, NBN News.